Hello everyone, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and I just want to start this video by saying everyone makes mistakes. I mean, just look at my parents raising me all the time. I didn't say yes to that miracle hair tonic from that snake oil seller. True, I would have gone blind and impotent, but my mane would have been amazing. And you know who else makes a lot of mistakes? No, not us here at WhatCulture, you thirsty little tykes. The video game industry. I mean, just think of how many times that they've made themselves look a right tit. Wii Music, thinking that Ride to Hell Redemption was a good thing, letting David Spade voice Sparks the Dragonfly. Ugh, I still have nightmares. However, sometimes mistakes can rear their ugly head and aren't just patched out in later releases, but actually are dealt with in ingenious ways. So today, let's celebrate the cerebral crack fillers. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 genius ways video games fix their own mistakes. Number 10. Fog was used to conceal poor draw distance. Silent Hill. Apart from Pyramid Head, what's the most iconic visual element of the Silent Hill franchise? Well, it's fog, of course, which has been used throughout the series to layer the titular town in a literal air of mystique as you venture through it. But for Konami, this wasn't so much an artistic concern, but it was a technical one, as the limited nature of the PS1's hardware meant that it couldn't continually render the entirety of Silent Hill while the player moved around it. The fog was conceived as a mask to conceal the fact that the game was only rendering the environment in the player's close vicinity, a fact that would become painfully obvious when the game was remastered and the fog was removed. Oh no, what is this? This just looks awful. However, on the PS1, the fog was praised as a brilliant design choice and forced the players to tread carefully as they explored the town, building suspense with every step. Number 9. Hardware limitations created gaming's difficulty curve. Space Invaders. In another classic example of developers turning a technical limitation into a classic gameplay feature, Space Invaders was actually created with the intent that the aliens would all move towards the player at the same speed throughout a level. However, the devs discovered that, as the aliens were destroyed and the hardware had less objects to render on screen, that the aliens' movement speed actually increased. Whoops. However, the developers soon realized that this oversight actually led to one of the game's best challenges, and so they decided to keep it in. You might have played this game for years and never noticed that this was ever a mistake for how perfectly it fits the experience, and there truly is nothing quite like the thrill of trying to hunt down that last invader as it zips across the screen. Number 8. Erratic cop AI gave birth to Grand Theft Auto. The Grand Theft Auto series we know today is an almost unstoppable commercial juggernaut, but this is a tale with a very accidental beginning, as it turns out that this titan of tires and Trevors was totally different when it was first conceived by DMA Design. GTA began life as a top-down multiplayer racer called Race and Chase, and was for the most part an unoffensive and passable title that looked to get little to no fanfare. Well, that all changed when the cops started glitching out. A seemingly random bug caused the game's police cars to act hyper-aggressively towards the player, desperately attempting to ram them off the road at any cost. Testers of the game were naturally amused by this, with their enthusiasm for the glitch prompting DMA to reshape the entire game around the tension between cops and criminals. And thus, GTA came into existence and grew to become the AAA mainstay that we know it is today. The more you know, right? G.I. Jules! Number 7. Reverse friendly fire trolled the trolls. Rainbow Six Siege. Say what you will about Ubisoft, but their post-launch support for Rainbow Six Siege has been nothing short of exemplary, and the game has actually completely changed from its inception to where it is now. And some of the latest changes have actually been some of the most significant. For example, one of the game's most pervasive complaints for literally years was how freely it allowed griefers, namely team killers, to troll players free of substantial punishment. Ubisoft received flack for their failure to address this until, earlier this year, they finally introduced reverse friendly fire. If one player kills a teammate, the victim now has the choice of confirming that the kill was malicious or forgiving it for being a genuine accident. If the player doesn't forgive, RFF is activated for the offending team killer, meaning that any further damage inflicted upon their team would simply be mirrored back to them. It's not the perfect remedy, but it's certainly been a feature that has had more positives than drawbacks, and it's a great way to discourage players from ruining the flow and fun of the game. Number 6. A virtual epidemic became an emergent world event. World of Warcraft. The corrupted blood incident was a virtual plague that spread throughout World of Warcraft for a week in 2005 and came about after Blizzard updated the game with a new raid. The raid concluded with players battling this boss known as, and I will totally butcher this name, Hakar of Zul'Gurub, who could hurt the players with a debuff called Corrupted Blood. Now this debuff could spread between party members and kill lower level players within seconds. This illness was meant to disappear when players died, but some found that their pets remained infected, and suddenly you had a walking biological weapon, one that was exploited by some players to spread the sick throughout the servers. As skeletons lined the streets like the opening to Terminator 2, Blizzard had no choice but to hard reset everything under the guise of a world event. Basically, this allowed them to flip the switch, but also introduce new features and updates which actually called back to the illness itself. It wasn't great PR to have to pull this stunt in the first place, but it certainly helped that it was introduced with enough confidence that some players even thought it was actually planned from the start. Number 5. A poorly programmed pig was turned into a creeper. Creepers are among the most infamous and annoying enemies in Minecraft, basically sneaking up on players and blowing them harder than your mum does to those horses online. The resulting mess takes hours to clean up, and it's also pretty bad in Minecraft. Whoa! And also, that is my one per list. However, it turns out that creepers are in fact another case of an error during development that was reworked into an actual feature. According to Minecraft creator Notch, he was trying to create a pig, but accidentally coded the incorrect dimensions, resulting in a creature that was tall rather than long. Notch ultimately decided not to scrap this abomination, instead shading it green, coding some aggressive attack routines and inserting it into the game, letting it become the bane of everyone playing Minecraft to this very day. Number 4. Tiny Tina's lazy eye glitch became a character trait. Borderlands 2. It's impossible not to love the outspoken and hyperactive teen that is Tiny Tina, not least because she's voiced by Ashley Birch, who I might have the largest crush on ever. Anyway, moving on, she quickly became a fan favourite amongst the Borderlands community. And one of her distinctive features, aside from her off-the-wall ramblings, is her lazy eye, occasionally causing her to look in 2 different directions at once. But intriguingly, this wasn't actually intentional, but actually a glitch in one of Tina's eyes. However, Gearbox's devs decided that it fit her scatterbrained character so well that it wasn't worth fixing. Now, no word yet on whether Tina's lazy eye is going to be air quotes fixed for Borderlands 3, but given how little representation there is for sufferers of amblyopia in the video game world, hopefully not. Number 3. GANDHI'S accidental bloodlust became a running franchise gag. Civilization. Honestly, it makes me laugh to this day when I think about how strident pacifist and all-around quality boldy Gandhi was made into an absolute murderer in the Civilization games. Now what happened was that when they were programming him, they set his aggression level as low as it could go. The problem being though that if this factor was modified through player actions, it would actually reset to the highest aggressiveness because the game couldn't make it any lower. This led to Gandhi launching nukes like he couldn't wait to get rid of them. Though Gandhi's aggression wasn't anywhere near as cartoonish as this in future Civ games, the devs nevertheless maintained his fondness for dropping nukes well above the norm as a cute little enduring reference to their initial screw-up, thus turning a mistake into a selling point. Number 2. A player name glitch inspired the Spy class, Team Fortress. Spy is one of Team Fortress's most popular classes, given his ability to turn invisible, feign death, and even disguise himself as any class on either team, allowing him to easily murder unsuspecting enemies. I mean, why wouldn't you want to have these abilities? But Spy's genesis dates back to the original version of Team Fortress, which, of course, was a mod for Quake. And during testing, the dev team discovered a glitch where a player's name would randomly appear in the incorrect color, implying that they were on the opposite team. The bug was fixed sharpish, but this planted the seed of what would eventually become the Spy class. However, it wasn't the only mistake made when coding this character. In the sequel, a glitch allowed players to perform a bizarre and rather hilarious walk called Spy Crab by equipping the disguise kit, holding down the crouch button, looking up, and walking forward. I mean, just look at it. It's horrifying and brilliant. So brilliant, in fact, that Valve refused to patch it out. So the genius here is the choice not to fix a mistake. And number 1, rocket jumping became a core gameplay strategy, Quake. Rocket jumping is a simple exploit, by modern standards at least, that players quickly began to manipulate in the original Quake for the purposes of moving faster and higher around the map. All it required the player to do was point their rocket launcher at the ground and jump as they fired it, the perfect timing of which would catapult players across ridiculous distances in record time. Now, once developers id Software learned of this, they began designing maps with rocket jumping in mind for future games, and even had the AI opponents perform their own rocket jumps in the incredible Quake 3 arena. In doing so, they took a cheeky exploit of the game's physics engine and turned it into a legitimate, recognized gameplay option that's still used in a massive number of FPS titles today. If that's not embracing your flaws in the most awesome way, I don't know what is. And there we go, those were 10 genius ways video games fix their own mistakes. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. But before you go, my friend, I just want to share with you one thing, and that is, we all make mistakes sometimes. And you know what? That is okay. It is okay to take mistakes and try and learn from them. As in victory, sometimes you don't actually get the perspective that you need. Take those lessons, use the energy that you have and the support of friends, family, and support professionals if you need it, and go out there and make the best bloody day you possibly can. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me at, wait a minute, I'm not going to plug Twitter this time. I'm actually going to say go follow me at Live and Let's Dice, a new YouTube channel that I'm starting, which is focusing on board games. And yes, WhatCulture have given me permission to do this, before you ask. You have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.